Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast episode. My name is Alicia Gogan, the host of the Glow Up Secrets podcast, where I help you expand your mind and become more self-aware so that you can glow up into the best version of yourself. Happy Women's Day or International Women's Day. I know that it's past, but this episode is going to be in, what's the word? I can't find the word, so we're not going to get the word. But we're going to be talking about women's things today, okay? I asked you guys on my Instagram, Alicia Gogan. Follow me on there if you're not. I asked you, what did I even ask? Hold on, let me pull this up. I don't actually know what I asked. Something to do with women's issues or advice on anything to do related to being a woman. So we have a lot of different... I'm really excited for this episode, honestly. You guys know I just love talking in general, but we have a lot of conversation on feminine and masculine energy, working, and, does that affect our femininity as women? What else do we have? We talk about jealousy, competition, some health, like fitness stuff for women, birth control I want to touch on. What else? Some boundaries, housewife, being a housewife, women in sex, hormones, lots of things. Okay. So I'm really excited for this episode. If you're watching on YouTube, I am wearing one of my favorite shirts. And I know a lot of people ask me where I got this shirt from. I got it from H&M last year. I don't know if they're going to still have this shirt on their site. Maybe they will, but I love this shirt for many reasons. I love it because it has my favorite color, which is blue, but also a little bit of pink. What else? Yeah. Blue, pink, whatever. Sorry if you're listening audio, you got to go to the YouTube channel to see it if you want. But also this butterfly vibe of like having it tie into the middle and then like open up. It's my favorite thing. And you will see me wearing more of these shirts in the summertime. Okay. I didn't make a list of ins because I feel like I gave you guys a lot of ins from last week. Quick update. I'm still watching Love Island and I am committed to making commentary videos on Love Island for the next season. It's happening. I feel like that would just be something so fun that I would really, really enjoy. Not like I don't enjoy what I'm doing on my podcast and my main channel, like absolutely. But I feel like that would be so fun to just make an episode, like just do commentary. Or even another show that I really like to watch, depending on the season. So that's a thing. That's still in. Another quick update. I had another meeting with my photographer for the photo shoot that I'm going to be having for the podcast and just in general for my brand. And we're narrowing down the concept and the vibe and the colors and the makeup and the hair and the fashion, everything. I am so excited for this freaking photo shoot. I can't even believe how deep it's getting. But I'm going to do some sort of behind the scenes, maybe a video, maybe a vlog or something when the time does come. But of course, like you guys are just going to see, I cannot wait. I literally can't wait. And I hope you guys will like what I end up creating with the photographer and me in general. Okay, so let's get into the questions. Let's just do it. Somebody asked me, I don't know if you've done this before, but do a deep dive into your cycle. I have 2 videos on my main channel about like really understanding your cycle, and I did a deep dive. I want to preface just once in this episode here, I'm not a doctor. So even the videos that I created, they're just based off of what I've learned from books and podcasts and listening to doctors in the field that really understand women's, hormones and their cycles and things like that. So I just wanted to say that. But if you really want to understand your cycle, definitely go to my main channel. I did one on... I did 2 of them, but the last one it's a really long video, but I do break down the phases and how to eat and being productive and moving your body and things that I use while I'm going through my menstrual phase. But just a quick overview, I feel like a lot of you guys are starting to become more awakened of like, wow, I have this, obviously we know we have periods, but I have this cycle that actually I go through certain phases and it's affecting how I show up and maybe how I'm feeling. And that's not the full picture. Like your menstrual your infradian rhythm is not the only player in your health, your mental health, everything, but it is such a huge part of how we feel and how we move as women. So I think for us to not be educated on that is just doing a disservice to ourselves, not to blame ourselves. There's many reasons why we, don't know a lot of this information. We go to school and we're really not taught this. Even a lot of, I don't want to put the narrative like, oh, society is completely ran by men and like they're taking over, which we're going to talk about in this episode. But I mean, these conversations are not really being had until like recent years. So essentially, you have an infradian rhythm and it's basically your hormonal, I don't want to say clock because it's not really it is basically a clock. Anyways, we go through 4 phases every single month as women. If we are not on hormonal birth control, which takes our natural ability to go through this such natural, beautiful cycle. But I know that there are some non-hormonal birth controls where I think you do, but technically, like, this is really only that it's not relevant. You know what? I was going to say this is only relevant if you're not on birth control, non-birth control, but that's actually not true. You should know this even if you're on birth control, so you can just kind of be more educated. So we go through 4 phases. They all depend on your cycle. So in terms of days, it really just depends, but we can start with the menstrual phase. So that's when you're bleeding. That's your period. But after you're bleeding, you go into your follicular phase, and that can last, I'm not even, I don't have the information to pull up the actual days, but maybe like a week or so. I don't know. Again, go watch that video. You go into your follicular phase, and your hormones are fluctuating from being when you're menstruating into your follicular, and then you're going to go into your ovulatory phase, which is, for most women, the peak amount of energy and just like aliveness that you're probably going to feel. This is also when you'd be able to conceive, when you could actually if you don't use protection, then you are going to get pregnant. You're not going to get pregnant every single time, like obviously, but this is the phase where you'd want to focus on obviously trying to conceive if you were in that vibe. Okay. And then after your ovulatory, you move to your luteal phase, which is, I'm pretty sure, that's the longest phase that we have. It's about 2 weeks. So the first week, you kind of like move from your ovulatory, lots of high energy, lots of productivity, sure. And then you kind of go into this fall, like luteal phase. And the first part of your luteal phase, for me at least, it kind of feels like the ovulatory still. I feel like normal energy. I'm still productive. I can get things done. I'm not fluctuating like crazy. But then that second half or the second week of my luteal phase, that's where I'm really feeling the PMS symptoms come on, or dips in energy, and then you're moving back into your menstrual phase. That's where you're bleeding. So understanding where you're at in your phase, the reason why that's important is because you can learn how to eat like certain foods, nutrients, move your body, how to be productive, or, take things off your plate if you can, in order to support your body as it's moving through certain phases. And unfortunately, we live in a society where it doesn't really favor our cyclical way of, our natural body's phases. So sometimes it can be very stressful, because if you think about, okay, well, I live in a society where every single day I have to be productive, and every single day I have to work, or everyone on the internet is telling me that I need to do HIIT workouts to lose weight every single day. But it's like your hormones are not really set up for the HIIT workouts, and the being productive and being on all the time it's not really favorable and not really helpful for your body sometimes on a biological level, depending on which phase you're in. And I think it's important for us to be able to understand that and know that, and slow down and let our bodies rest when they need to. Like, when you're on your period, I mean, it depends, right? Because if you start to really heal and really take care of your phases, you'll start to see over time that PMS symptoms get less. Cramps are not as bad. As I've gone through the same journey, I'm still going through it as well. But the more that I really hone in on my, taking care of my cycle, and, falling back on caffeine, or falling back on processed foods, or, slowing down and, honoring my body, my PMS symptoms or my periods, they're not as bad. But that's going to really take, you understanding, okay, well, what foods, what nutrients, what type of exercise would be helpful for my body that's going through this transition through different hormones and might need to slow down or might need to, have more food to feel more fueled, or, more supplements, more magnesium, more iron, more vitamin D, all of these things. So yeah, I think it's something. And then even just like outside of that, I just think that acknowledging that you are biologically different than a male and you have this beautiful, like so many phases that you're going through, and for you to honor that is just like, I think, a form of self-love. I think looking at yourself like, I'm a woman and I'm going through these phases and it's so beautiful and I'm so in tune with nature and I'm so in tune with my body. I think that there's something that really like hits deep for me when I look at myself like, wow, I'm taking care of myself through this phase. I'm watching myself and my body and, going through different phases and I'm nurturing it. I think that there's something so deep about, just being so in tune with your own body. And that really is a form of self-love. And, I think many of us women, we've struggled with being like loving to ourselves in so many ways. For me personally, I was talking to my mom about this last night. My father was so tough on me and so strict, and, for many reasons. And some of those were definitely helpful, but too much of that strictness, that masculine energy, it really stripped me from my ability to connect deeply with myself, my ability to love myself, my ability to honor myself. And even as I grew up and he passed away, I picked up that voice that he had on me. I actually picked that up and I became that voice to myself. And I became dominant, overly masculine, very critical of myself, would yell at myself. I remember I talked about this in the last episode that I had about how my dad, I remember one time I sat down and I was trying to do a math problem and my mom was like, told my dad to help me. And my dad, he didn't have emotional capacity to deal with children like this. And so when I wasn't understanding a math question, he was just like screaming at me. And it obviously made me more flustered and I couldn't think and I was crying and I was stressed. And then I looked at myself like I was dumb, I was stupid, I couldn't understand math or anything to do with education in general. And really it was because I had somebody who was putting so much pressure to get the answer and get it now and hurry up. And then I went through life looking at myself like I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm wrong. And then I would get mad at myself. And so when I would have to do another math question or I would have to do something for the first time and I was being slow with it, I would have that inner critic, that voice from my father being like, hurry up, like figure it out. You're so stupid. Like, why can't you get this? And that took a lot of, understanding that, I'm not dumb because I don't understand a question. I just need more time. And until I really started to change that inner critic, that voice inside my head and be like, Alicia, you can take your time with understanding a concept and you can sit down and take as much time as you need and you don't need to rush yourself. Like that's a form of self-love. And I think the same thing goes with, I removed that inner critic on myself when it came to me being a female and being like, okay, well, you know what? This week you're going to have to slow down because your body needs it and that's okay. But we get taught, well, your body needs to slow down. Well, that's not okay. Keep going. Like, keep going to work, like, hurry up, burn yourself out, blah, 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 blah. And I think that one thing we can do as women is educate ourselves instead of, listening to everyone else, because a lot of the, the studies are on men, the studies are coming from men, not to demonize men, we love them. But, really getting the full picture and then taking your power back and being like, okay, I know you want me to be productive 365 days of the year, but every month, I am going to have to slow down. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm not going to show up to work because we need to work. But I think what actually taking your power back can mean for women is, I'm going to first learn how to not be so critical on myself. So when I'm showing up and I'm not being, feeling 100% and being so energized and outputting all of this work at work, I'm not going to be mad at myself for not doing that. Now, I mean, it's going to depend on the type of like industry you're in when you're working and stuff. But I mean, people can't get mad at you. Like your boss can't get mad at you when you show up to work and your stomach is hurting, or you're having cramps. And I think that there's going to be a level of you not shaming yourself for feeling like crap one day when you go into work, because what we do is, okay, we'll come to work and we expect ourselves to be a certain way, very productive, on it, lots of energy, should have gone to the gym, should have ate right, should have done everything. And then we think that we always have to show up this way. And because we're not this way, we get really mad at ourselves and we say, see, you're not performing like him, or you're not performing like all these other people who are doing amazing. And it really comes back to like, let's stop this inner critic, this tyrant of for me, a father voice saying that you're wrong and you're stupid and you're dumb and you're not going fast enough, you're not working hard enough, you're not hitting all the goals. Stop worrying about what everyone else is doing. Slow it down. Love yourself. Let yourself rest and continue to move forward. And anyone else who outside is telling you need to show up like this every single time, you know what? At the end of the day, like, we live in a society where they really can't fire you for coming into work and having a stomach ache. You might hear some chatter. You might perceive somebody to judge you because maybe you're not showing up correctly in their eyes, but that doesn't matter. Stop thinking about that. Who cares? This is the thing. You are not going to please everyone. Okay. So if people don't understand, let's say you have a boss that's like a man and he doesn't understand you being a female and understanding that there's going to be some days where you're going through PMS, or you're struggling with your emotions, or you're just on your period and you're just like not fully present. Who cares? Who cares what he says? Who cares if he says, makes a weird comment being like, oh, like, you're not performing today, or, like little comments that here and there, whatever it is. Some people don't have comments, some people do. But I mean, at the end of the day, who cares? I don't care what you have to say if you think that I'm like not working hard today. I don't have a lot of energy. Obviously, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do my job and I'm going to, be productive, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't care so much about what other people think or perceive you as. I just think sometimes we look at what's happening in society and we say, oh, well, the systems are not built for me to be able to thrive as a woman, or people are succeeding more and I'm not because I have this cycle. And I mean, it's not to deny that there's certain systems and there's certain people who think a certain way. But for me personally, I don't really care because I live in a first world country where I do have rights and people can't fire me or can't get mad at me. Like, they can, but that's on them. If I show up and I'm, a little bit less productive today because I'm on my period, and I just know that whatever they're thinking that I'm doing or not doing, to me, I don't really care because, you can't please everyone. So anyways, that was a whole rant. And yeah, I don't know. I just think that having your cycle, once you start to educate yourself and learn little ways throughout the month that you can support your body, I think it's an act of self-love. It's a form of self-love. It's a form of self-care. And I think the more that you do that, the more that you end up you end up loving yourself. Okay, next, you know what? This is not really a question, but I wanted to add this in. So first of all, I posted on my YouTube community tab and I've been reposting on my Instagram that the Business of Birth Control documentary, which I've talked about a lot of times and you'll hear me talk about it in the cycle syncing video. I will have all those links, by the way, in the show notes and the description if you want to go watch that video. But I talk about that documentary. It's really good for you to watch if you're on birth control or even if you're not. I even watched it when I was off birth control and I was still like, wow, yeah, like, it's not good. I honestly think that they're not as biased as you would think for being a documentary. Like, yeah, they uncover and they educate you on what's actually really happening behind, what's happening with big pharma and the push for birth control and how it's actually a lot more unsafe than we think. But they also talk about alternatives and, they're trying to empower women to just make the right decision for themselves. We get put on birth control or we go on birth control when we make this decision because everyone else is going on it. We don't know anything about it. Our parents are like, okay, sure. Like, I want to help you. I want, if you're younger or if you're of the age of whatever you can to get it yourself, you just go on it because everyone else is. That's what I did. I went on it because everyone else was going on it, and everyone else who dealt with cramps, they went on birth control. I didn't do it because I was sexually active. I wasn't. And my mom was like, okay, yeah, like I went on it when I was younger for the same reason. So, but it's like, it's just masking the symptoms in my personal opinion. Why is your periods so bad? That's not normal. It's very common, but just because it's common doesn't mean that it's actually normal. So anyways, the birth control documentary, they were streaming it. It's not going to be free anymore by the time you watch this, but they actually put it on Amazon Prime and in Canada, US, and the UK. So you can watch that if you have an account, or you can just spend your money and buy it. I don't know how much it is. I'm sure it's probably cheap. And again, I'll have that in the link in the show notes, but I had shared it to my community tab and somebody had made a comment and I wanted to read it because I don't know. I think my response would be helpful because I'm sure I know some of you guys have asked this question before. So anyway, she said, Alicia, thank you for this. I was crying on the first 20 minutes of the documentary. I got so emotional. This is the type of content that should go viral. I'm sending this to my mom, my sister, my girlfriends, and every woman I know. Would you mind if I shared the link on my channel? Obviously, like share that documentary to everyone or anything, just share to everyone. And then she goes on to say, I'm currently on birth control and want to get off of it so bad, but so conflicted about not taking it and getting an unplanned pregnancy. I know it's an intimate question, but what methods do you use to avoid unplanned pregnancy? Also, I'm in a stable relationship of 12 years and we enjoy being able to get frisky without condoms. We never really use them. Thanks again. She said also like maybe too much information, but whatever, let's help each other out. And this was my response to her, and I want to elaborate on it a little bit more, but I answered her and then I said, as far as alternatives, I understand your struggle. Honestly, babe, I think there will always be a risk. My best bet is tracking your cycle and knowing when you ovulate, and to make sure that you're wearing protection around that time, as that time is honestly when you would get pregnant. And I know that she said that she doesn't want to use protection, but I mean, realistically, if anything, I would definitely make sure that I was using it then. I also said, I know there's non-hormonal birth control, which I believe they've talked about in the documentary, but I'm unsure of the science behind that, which, I mean, if anyone knows, then you can totally let us know in the comments on YouTube. But yeah, I don't know too much about that, but I've heard that there's like non-hormonal, but I am also just like, I don't know if that still would take away your natural cycle. I'm not sure. I said, I think that anything that takes away your cycle is too unnatural for me. Personally, that's just my own belief. I understand that people take birth control not for anything to do with children. It's just sometimes people take it for PCOS or whatever your reason is. Doesn't matter. I'm not judging. And then I said, personally for me, I have in the back of my head that there will always be a risk. And because I don't believe in having an abortion at this stage in my life, and I said, by the way, I don't judge people who want abortion to whatever you can do. I think everyone should have body autonomy. You should do what you want with your body. For me personally, I don't want to do that, never want to. And knowing that, and that I hold that as a value for myself, I know that if I don't take precautions with protection and I get pregnant, I'm going to keep that child. And I said to her, I'm just going to keep explaining like off of reading this at this point. But I was saying how there's a few things that I think of. And I think for one, whenever I am with somebody, I make that very, very clear that that's my beliefs and that those are my values. But this is a very big reason why I stopped having sex with people who I wasn't in long-term relationships with and didn't have these conversations and didn't know that I knew that the relationship would go in a direction of where I want, which is children and marriage and things of that nature. And furthermore, I told her that I honestly just think that there's always going to be a risk when you are doing something, okay, let's say sex in this instance, for purely pleasure. This is not to demonize to have just like sex or any sort of self-pleasure practice, which obviously you wouldn't get pregnant from that. Like not to have it for pleasure. I think pleasure is amazing and it's so fun. And I do think that, sex, even outside of having children, is very much so fine to do. And I do that. But it's going to come with a risk. I think with most things in life, there is any action that you take, there's going to be a reaction. And I guess you have to just be okay and know, like, it's like, how comfortable are you with knowing that there might be a risk of you getting pregnant? And basically for me, because of the values that I hold, I know when I'm having sex for pleasure that there is going to be a potential trade-off, a risk. And, you know, because I have these values and these beliefs, I am willing to take that risk. But I'm only going to take that risk knowing that I would be okay if that thing did happen, aka being pregnant, because, you know, I'm financially where I need to be, mentally, emotionally. I am at a stage in my life where I would welcome that, but also I would be with a man who knows that, understands that, and would welcome that as well. This is not to say that it'd be the perfect situation, right? Because you could be in a relationship with somebody for like 3 months or 5 months, and then it happens, and, you know, that's not necessarily a long-term relationship. But at the end of the day, it's like I'm going to do the absolute best that I can to make sure that, you know, if that actually happens, then the situation that I'm left with is sound enough for me to go forward with having a child. That's just how I look at things. And, you know, it depends on the stage of your life and if you even want them or not. But again, if you don't want that, then there's gonna have to be a trade-off. Like, you might not be able to fully have sex the way that you want with no protection and nothing all the time, because there is going to be a risk for that. Or you're gonna have to maybe consider being on birth control, or obviously just using condoms. But some people don't want to do that. But it's like, at what cost? There's always going to be a cost, in my opinion. Okay, next question. How can we balance our masculine and feminine energy in a masculine-centered society? And then she also said she struggles with being in her masculine energy because that's how the world is built. I want to push back a little bit on this, mainly because it feels very disempowering when we tell ourselves the world is built for men. It's not to deny that there are many systems in place, like the 9-to-5 work week, that is not ideal to most people, even men, okay? But, you know, even to women, when we, coming back to our cycles, right? Having to show up to work and just be on and always be the exact same, structurally the same. It's a lot. And the thing is, I feel like a lot of people don't really fully understand about feminine and masculine energy, and we think about it as men and women. And the truth is, we have feminine energy and masculine energy within us as a women and men. Feminine energy is not just the way that you present, and it's not just that you have a cycle even. To me, feminine energy is really your creative, your relaxed part or expression of yourself. Now, I do think a part of feminine expression is living in flow, which is, you know, the same as, you know, living cyclically and understanding that you go through certain phases every single month as a woman. But really and truly, the society that we live in is very, it can be overly masculine, but that's even too much for men as well. Really, the society that we live in is toxic in a way. I would essentially look at it as a dysregulated masculine but toxic masculine expression. And I don't mean it's the actual men who are sitting, you know, CEOs of companies and all of that. Yeah, sure, some of them can be very mean and dominant and rude and all that kind of stuff. But if we're just talking about like energy here, working can be very stressful when you equate your value to your productivity. And unfortunately, actually not unfortunately, because I think that we live in an amazing, actually a great country. I live in Canada, but even America, as much as people want to talk down on it, I mean, people literally spend their waking days working as hard as they can so they can go to America or even come to Canada, because there's so much more opportunity, because we're so much more free. But because we live in this capitalistic society, unfortunately, you know, everyone does really value productivity, and when you are too productive, when you're trying to do too much, when you're putting, when you're burning yourself out, it breaks you down, right? And I think that when we're talking about being a female, sometimes it can break us down a little bit more. This is not to say that we're weak. It's not to say that none of that. I don't like that narrative. It's just to know that we have different nervous systems than men. We go through cycles which can affect the way that we are being able to be super resilient and showing up 100,000% the way that this, society is structured. And acknowledging that and understanding that we need to sometimes do things a little bit differently. And how I look at it is, how do we become more resilient? How do we support ourselves in a capitalistic society and, thrive and do better and slow down and not be burnt out, even the same way men should? A capitalistic society also burns out men. Now, there's many reasons why it might not burn them out as much as we do. I mean, sometimes you just don't even see it because men are just taught to just like go to work and be quiet and stay quiet, whatever. But also, their hormones are different than ours. Biologically, we're just different. Their nervous systems are built a little bit differently as well. And sometimes they can thrive in this type of environment. And I think that's not a bad thing. And how I look at it is, I am going to honor myself. I am going to take care of my health and my mental health and try to be as resilient as I can and build up my capacity to be able to handle stressors in life, like from the systems that we want to talk about, or, the structures of society. That's just kind of how it is. And yeah, I can see how it can be disempowering to think, well, systems in society, they should really just be built for women as well. And honestly, again, bringing it back to the first world, I think that sometimes people can be too extreme with that. I think that a lot of women struggle when they're trying to put themselves in places where, let's say, it's dominated by men or dominated by masculine energy. And then they struggle and they say, well, it's the systems that are not nurturing my feminine essence. And yes, that could absolutely be true. But another thing is, you have to look at some of these systems that are in place are meant to be masculine like that. It's just how I'm sorry. It's just, that's sometimes how it is. To build a company and to be super successful and have employees and systems and structures and budgets and marketing and all these things, that is a lot of masculine energy that needs to be put out. Direct, consistent, linear, very logical type of work that needs to be done in order to build something very, very masculine. And I think sometimes people struggle with the idea of letting that just be what it is. And people want to be like, well, no, you need to incorporate more feminine energy, more females. We look at females as more of an expression of feminine energy because, we might have that, but it's still whatever. People will look at these structures and be like, we need to break it down and not be so masculine. Sure, there are some systems that are absolutely insanely toxic and masculine, and the structure is just hurting everyone around them. But I do think that there's something to be said about just it's not about letting men be men, right? Because women can be in those masculine structures as well, but just letting it be what it needs to be. One thing I'm going to say about women being able to, handle more of that masculine structure is that's going to depend on your nervous system. That's going to depend on your cycle. That's going to depend on your traumas that you've gone through. That's going to depend on so much. What is your capacity to be able to handle stress? Some women who are the CEOs of companies and they got it and they're on, some of them are not burnt out because they can handle a lot of stress. They're taking care of themselves well. There is room for women to be in these structures, but it's just sometimes a lot of us will struggle to try and be in these structures because, well, our nervous systems are primed differently. We're unhealthy. We have a lot of mental health issues. That sounds so bad to say that we all have mental health issues. I think most people have mental health issues. It's not to demonize a thing. Whatever. We struggle sometimes to be able to succeed in these structures, and then we get mad at these structures and we say these structures need to tone it down. they need to stop being so masculine. But the truth is sometimes these structures need to be masculine or nothing's going to get done. If you have no masculine energy operating in a society, and I'm not talking about men, I'm talking about the energy, the structure, the container, the logistic, logical, linear focus that masculine energy can provide for anything in life, whether it be in a relationship, whether it be a business. If we don't have that, what's going to happen to society? Nothing's going to get done. There's going to be no businesses. The internet that you go on and you sit and you scroll, that's not going to be a thing anymore. For you to be able to go to school and learn something, to be able to get a job, well, that's not going to be a thing anymore because nobody's showing up to teach you a certain curriculum that's needed to be linear and it's needing to be in phases and cycle, whatever. So for us to completely demonize masculine energy, I think it's very naive, and I understand why, and I looked at it the same way. But I think that what we can do as women, because I'm talking from a woman's experience, and I do find majority of women, like they kind of fall more onto that more feminine energy state. I think that we need to pick up different tools and practices to help us, first heal our feminine energy and be able to express it in ways that are healthy and balanced, and also be able to build up our capacity to, when we are put into more masculine societies, that we can handle it, that we're good. We can switch into our masculine energy. We can handle, doing a lot of hitting goals and being consistent and, not falling into the abyss when, somebody is telling us that we have a deadline, but we have our period and we just can't do it and it's just too hard. Like, there is a balance that we can have. So just to sum that up, the way I look at feminine energy and healing and expressing more of that is honestly learning how to regulate your nervous system and not being so overly stressed and chronically just on all the time. The more that you really sink into your body and slow things down and just breathe, literally breathe, you're really dropping into your feminine energy. That's just, and it's such a healing thing for us and even for men as well. But I find, again, coming back to their nervous systems and the biological differences, I do find that sometimes that they can handle more stress and they don't need to really drop into feminine energy and slow things down and, all of these things. Although I do think that is changing a little bit now. So anyways, I think that when you're in a society that, yes, there is a lot of masculine structures, all you can really do is try to heal yourself and build up resilience. So nervous system regulation, going to somatic therapist, loving yourself, honestly, just stop being so critical on yourself and stop being so demanding. And so I need to hit a goal and I need to do this and I need to do reading and dieting and everything so strict. Everything's so linear, so logical, so in the mind, and drop into the body and relax. Let your nervous system just take a break. And I think that the more you do that, the more that you can show up in masculine dominant systems or work or whatever, and you're good. You can handle it. You can switch into your more dominant, assertive part of you that is you. We have that part of us and we can tap into that part of us and we can be productive, but it's going to look a little bit different than the way that we've been taught. And it's also going to look different based off of men because we're different than men. So what we sometimes women want to see is, okay, well, let's do masculine energy differently. Well, we can do it differently. We can express our masculine energy a little bit differently, meaning we can be focused and on and in our logical minds and we can hit goals and we can be consistent every single day. But we're probably not going to do it all the time. It's going to be when we're ovulating or, right after you're ovulating in your first half of your luteal phase. But for men, the on and the more masculine and the mind, the logical, the direction, the structure, they're probably going to be able to operate more frequently in that energy because they're not going through a phase, our infradian rhythm. They're not going through an infradian rhythm. Their clock resets every 24 hours. To sum this all up, I think that the more we take our power back, the more we educate ourselves on our cycles, our nervous systems, the fact that we are different than men, and we honor that, we start to love ourselves, we start to heal ourselves. I think that the way that we're going to show up in these systems around men, around masculine energy in general, even with another person, doesn't matter, it's actually going to influence the toxic masculine energy that we see that is going on in the world right now. Because the truth is, even men are overly stressed and chronically ill. And I think that something that's so unique to women and more of that feminine expression is, being that yin to that yang, which is we need the feminine. We need somebody to like slow it down, or like if you're working alongside of a man, he can get so logical and so hyper focused on something, which is, he can probably handle that capacity, right? But there's going to be some feminine guidance that he might need. And for you to be there in your feminine energy and being like, hey, like we can do things a little bit differently, you're going to be able to influence a man who is actually really seeking that feminine balance in his own life. And the thing that we usually do is we say, okay, society wants us to be more masculine. Let's be more masculine. But that's not working for us. It's stressing us out. It's breaking us down. It's burning us out. And then on top of that, now we're in competition with men. And what men actually really need is a little bit more feminine energy in their lives. Like, let's be real. And they can do that within themselves. They can tap more into that in themselves. They need to heal themselves as well. But also for us to come in and be like, you need me. I need you to remember that you're not going to be able to operate a society completely in this masculine one structured way. But again, that's going to take us first to heal our own feminine energy, to get rid of that inner critic from dad, to slow down and drop into the body and not be so critical and overthinking about everything. And the more that we do our inner work, we're going to start to see that reflect on the outside. And I will tell you this from personal experience, whether that be in a workforce, whether that be in relationships, the more that I am more embodied in my own feminine energy, and just, again, that feminine energy is just really healing yourself and back into your nervous system state and just like embracing the fact that you're a woman. I've seen men respond to that in a very beautiful way. And honestly, I've seen some of them just when they actually come in contact with a woman who's in her feminine energy, and I want to quickly talk about what it really looks like, but it's like they just like sigh a relief, like they're wanting that. So one thing I want to quickly talk about feminine energy, it doesn't just look like you're pretty and you're proper and you're making all the right decisions and you're really soft and you're healing all the time and your nervous system's like always in rest and digest and all you do is shop and that's that. No, there's light and dark parts of feminine expression. So what I was just talking about was really light feminine energy, which is great. It's beautiful. It's nurturing. It's great for children. It's great for, emotions and tapping into that, and amazing. But there's that dark feminine energy that's like very assertive and seductive, and like I'm going in, it's almost like there's like a flavor of like masculine energy within that. And it's very, I don't know. It's very hard to even put words on it. I think that you can look at somebody like Beyonce or Rihanna and you can see like they are really expressions of that dark feminine energy. And she's strong. She's passionate. She's very wise. She's very, very tapped into her spirituality and her intuition. And I think that men are very attracted to a woman who she is so tapped into her intuition, and she knows on this spiritual level, she can sense what is right and what is wrong. And if you think about like the old times and just like ancient times, even the kings, they would be advised by the queen to should I make this right decision or not from a logical standpoint. They're not asking her from a logic. We know logically what would work, what doesn't, but sometimes things are not black and white. Sometimes it's not about doing the logical thing. It's like there's something that's deep inside your soul that knows the answer. There's something that's energetically should I go in this direction or should I not? And sometimes men have a hard time connecting deeply into that, and that's something that is something beautiful that a lot of women can tap into that. And that's where men they want that guidance, but unfortunately we aren't even tapped into that ourselves. Or we are, and then we were getting in contact with men who are not looking for that anyways, because they're just so ego driven and they're so focused on just being so dominant, because they're really operating out of their own toxic masculinity, because maybe they didn't have a healthy father figure. Like, a lot of men haven't had a healthy father figure. And you see these men, and you can tell because, you know, you watch Andrew Tate, you watch Fresh and Fit podcasters and the Red Pillars. They are not a healthy expression of masculine energy. I don't care. I understand that there might be some truth in what they're saying, but they are not healthy men. They're just not, because healthy men wouldn't speak to women that they speak to like that. They wouldn't bring women on who they know they can manipulate. They know that these women don't have a sense of what true feminine energy even is, because they've come from certain backgrounds where it's difficult for them to even understand that. They're put in places where it's just they're more in survival mode, and no shade to these women, but it's just the truth, okay? But they're gonna bring them on and then just yell at them and throw statistics and logical, all this kind of stuff. It's very sickening in my personal opinion. And I even got roped into that for a little bit. Like, I was like, yeah, what they're saying makes sense. And logically, what they're saying makes sense. But they're not changing anything in the game. They're creating more men who are already suffering enough to hate on women more. And then what happens is women hate on men like that more, which is understandable, because we're like, you don't understand me. And like, what do you mean I have to have a low body count, or I'm not going to be able to ever have a child or have a relationship, or I can't pair bond? Like, there's so many absolutes. There's so much black and white in those communities, and it's not doing anything. It's not healing at all. And like, a true healthy masculine man would be able to guide people in a way where they can understand ways in which they're operating from a very toxic, very wounded place, and bring them to light, bring them to more of a healing state, the same way for feminine women. And I actually had an episode on my podcast with Adil. I never know how to say his name. Adil. I know I'm saying it wrong. Adil, but the pronunciation, because I don't have that accent, it always sounds weird. Anyways, I had a conversation with him. He came on my podcast last year, so I will link it in the show notes. And if you want to hear what a true masculine man sounds like, what he thinks, what he looks at, you know, what it even means to be masculine, go listen to that episode, because that's a masculine man right there. And unfortunately, us women, we already don't even know what a masculine man looks like, because we never even had a good father figure growing up around us to show us what that is. And then we kind of get lost in this world, and we get this false idea of what a masculine man should really be. And then it wounds us even more. And it's really sad, because a lot of women, they'll look at what a masculine man really is, and it's like, oh, well, if he has money, because this is what a lot of them will say online too. Well, if he has money, then he's a high value masculine man. Or if he's dominant, right, and he's assertive, then he's a masculine man. But that is not the full picture, and that doesn't actually mean he's healthy for you, because he's dominant and he is assertive and he has money. There might be a lot of things that are going on underneath that's very, very unhealthy, and it's very scary that a lot of women just end up falling prey to these men. But again, let's take responsibility here and say that we had a wound that allowed us to become a match to that in the first place. It's not to shame ourselves, because this wound was created from childhood, which wasn't actually our fault, okay? But because we've had this wound, it's going to be in our best interest and our responsibility to heal this wound, so we no longer become a match to these men. And furthermore, even if we become a match to this man, we are not letting this man come into our lives. And the more that we take back our power and we heal, and we stop trying to be like men, because half them we're trying to be like is toxic men. And we take our power back, and we drop into our feminine energy, and we heal, and we love ourselves, and we be assertive, and we be confident, and we be seductive, and we allow ourselves to express. We allow ourselves to embrace our beauty, embrace aesthetics, and not feel so much shame and embarrassment and all this kind of stuff. Watch how men change. Watch the way the world will start to change when women actually take their power back and realize, I don't need to be like him, the toxic masculine man. I need to be more like me. The part of me that was suppressed, that was wounded, that was ignored for so many years. But it's going to be on you to be able to actually change that. It's going to take you taking the responsibility to say, I need to heal. I need to change. What can I do for myself? Instead of saying, everyone else is doing this to me. Okay, that was a whole rant. And I still have so many questions. So I'm going to really try and go through this quickly. Somebody asked, is working ruining women's femininity? What do you think on this topic? I think I kind of already went into this. I think that stress is what's ruining our feminine energy or femininity in a way. And we as women, I feel like there's always going to be a trade-off at the end of the day. First of all, I think we need to heal our wounds and we need to heal our nervous systems because we're always in fight or flight and we're stressed and we're chronically self-improving and we're really focused on the wrong things, which I have a lot of videos, by the way, guys, about healing your nervous system and productivity and your cycle syncing and all that. So please go watch my YouTube channel if you haven't. All those videos will be linked. But I think that at the end of the day, we need to heal those parts of us first and then, kind of reevaluate what we want in our lives, because you know what? Some of us don't want children and we want to build businesses, right? And if that's what you want to do, then you go do that. You're going to probably need to make sure that you are becoming as resilient as you can, taking care of yourself as much as you can to be able to excel in a dominant system. And it's not bad that it's a dominant system, masculine system. Sometimes systems need to be like that, but there might be a trade-off because biologically you're different and maybe there'll be too much stress. But I do think that there's a lot of room now, again, in this day and age, that it's not as bad as it used to be. I totally lost my train of thought, but one thing I also wanted to say is it really depends on what you define a feminine woman to even be, because some people will look at being a feminine woman and be like, well, she's going to be a stay-at-home wife and she's going to be pretty in pink and she's going to be very soft and whatever, but that's not the full picture. You can be a feminine woman and again, be that more dark, feminine, seductive, that assertive, very powerful, confident woman. And, you might be even more resilient when it comes to your health and your nervous system and stress to be able to kind of go into that field and really dominate. And that's totally fine, right? So I think that you need to kind of get clear with what it is that you want in your life. For me personally, I don't, like I've said, don't really care to build an empire. I don't really care to 1,000% be operating in my masculine energy. But working doesn't mean that it's ruining your feminine energy. Again, if you were to really honor your cycle and heal your nervous system, heal your wounds, going to work is not going to be, it's not ruining, it's not taking away anything really. If you were to actually kind of work with yourself more, because at the end of the day, we still have masculine energy. We need to get things done and we're allowed to, and we're actually very valuable to be in the workforce and like have these insights and just whatever. So I think that if you just kind of balance that, then you'll be totally fine. But I think the problem is sometimes we don't even acknowledge that we need to heal more of our feminine energy and heal ourselves. And so we're already very wounded, and then we go into a masculine workforce, and then that breaks us down more. And then the soft life girlies, which you can even add me into that, will look at it and be like, work is ruining our lives. And the truth is, we need to heal and watch how more you're able to like show up better in a job now, but it's going to definitely depend. I feel like I'm somebody who can do a lot. Like I am, I always hear this quote when people are like, I'm built different. I'm not really built different. I'm just built this way. And, there's things I needed to heal for myself, but naturally I fall on the side of wanting to do more work. Like I'm not a workaholic, but I want to work. But that also is like dependent on how I was brought up as well. There's so many factors. Like, should we just go into it quickly? There's so many factors because I came from a household where I didn't really have a lot of financial stability. So like that's going to play into my role into wanting to work a lot. Also, I'm doing something that I really love. So naturally I'm outputting more content and I'm doing a lot of work because I love what I'm doing. Also, another thing is I wasn't raised in like living very luxury and going to spas and relaxing and vacations and girls' days and trips and things like that. So I don't really prioritize a lot of that. And so naturally, I'm kind of moving more into that more masculine, naturally expression of myself, because if I'm not slowing down and I'm not connecting and I'm not in this healing, soft vibe, I'm more doing work, and that's masculine energy. That's just what it is. So I think it really depends. Like if you grew up in a place where you didn't really need to work super hard because, maybe you had certain things handed to you, which is great. Love that for you. Or you grew up in a very bougie lifestyle where you have a certain set of how you want to live your life, and that means a lot of vacations and trips and chilling and vibing and like whatever, then you're probably like that's just what you're gonna want in your life, and that's how you want to live your life, and that's totally fine. That's totally freaking fine. Somebody asked me a question about, your thoughts on being a housewife, your thoughts on like soft life and all these things. Do what you want. Do you want to work? Like, do you want to hustle and grind and build a business? If you want to, go for it. If you want to live a soft life, go live a soft life. But if you want to live a soft life or you want to build a business, like obviously you're going to have to do certain things to allow you to get into that position. But either way, I don't think it's bad. But I think you need to actually also understand your reasoning and your drive to wanting to do that. Like, why do you want to live a soft life? Is it truly because like that is just naturally, that's just who you are as a human being, is to like slow down and not work and whatever it is that you want to look at, like living a soft life is, I mean, more on the aesthetics, then do you. But if you are only wanting to live a soft life because you've been burnt out from work, then maybe your destiny is not to really live a soft life, and your destiny is to heal yourself and learn how to tap more into your feminine energy and heal your nervous system. And then you'll realize, oh wait, actually, I do want to work. I actually love working. I actually want to be very, very productive in society, and I want to provide a lot of value. And, I do want to I want to express more of my masculine energy. That's honestly where I think a lot of women actually fall back into once they realize like, okay, well, what am I to do here in living a soft life? Like there's not much else to do but like literally chill. Because when you think about the soft life and the aesthetics of how people talk about soft life, they'll be like, it's a life of living luxury, not working and having your time, blah, blah, blah. But I think that people are starting to awaken. Even myself, I did that as well. I realized, it's not that I want to just go live on an island by myself. It's just, I want to be able to have a little bit more time freedom. I want to be able to, not be stressed about money. I want to be able to, be with a man who I feel like I can just relax for once, because I haven't. I've been hyper masculine. I've been hyper independent because of my story, my life circumstance. And really, I don't need to be fully living in my feminine energy in my soft life era. I just need to incorporate a little bit more of that. And then that looks just like balance. That looks like I can work a 9 to 5, but I need to do certain things throughout my day to calm down and relax and to not stress about things. And I think that that's where many of us lie. And I think that the more that you actually get aligned with your purpose, again, when people say this, oh, like I haven't worked a day in my life because I love what I do, it's kind of true. You find that you're able to work a little bit more when you really are loving what you're doing. So I don't know. I think that you need to understand like your drive to wanting to, let's say, build a business, or your drive to want to live a soft life. This is not to say that you're probably not meant to do that, because there are some people who just are like, that's what you're meant to do. Okay. There's definitely women who have created crazy, insane empires, and we need them. And there's some women who are just I look at it as like, they're the ones who inspire women to want to live more of like an aesthetic life, or more luxury, or more whatever. Like whatever. Everyone has their value in some way, and you might not see it, but that's how I think about it. So yeah. That's my two cents on that. Someone said how to love life as being a woman and how not to follow the stereotypes of what is considered to be a woman. I would suggest going to watch my video on everything you're getting wrong with feminine energy. I like to make the distinction that feminine energy is not just connected to females, but also in that sense, it is connected to females. But I would suggest going to watch that video. What I'll say is just be whoever you want to be. If you're a woman who wants to dress up in pretty and pink and you want to like, you know, be that stereotypical woman, do that. If you don't, then don't. Like, I think that again, we give too much power to external forces, and I understand that there's things that are being imposed on us, but I want to feel the most empowered that I can. And I just think that if you continue to live in this narrative of like, you think you're telling yourself you have to be this way, then that's what your life is going to be. Be who you want to be. Someone asked some tips that I wish I knew as a teen. I think definitely knowing my infradian rhythm and understanding that I'm different than men. I knew that I was different than men, but not on the biological level like that. And I feel like if I really were educated on that, I wouldn't have gone on birth control, and I would have learned how to eat and move my body and heal myself in a way that was really beneficial to me as a woman. And on top of that, I think that would have helped my self-worth and my self-confidence a lot more, I think. So if you're young, then this is the episode for you. Someone wanted me to talk about connecting to other women authentically and mutually without envy and competition. I think you really need to be rooted in high self-worth to be able to connect with women and it not be a competition or envy. And I think really you need to stop focusing on things like that are egotistical, like success or looks. I know a lot of women struggle with this. Like, who are you surrounding yourself with? And on top of that, why is your focus on the wrong things? Like, I think back to when I was younger and I cared so much about looks and being pretty and people liking me and, you know, just everything to do with my ego. I did definitely have I felt competition, I felt envy, I felt jealousy, I felt all of those emotions when I was around women because I was focused on the wrong things. And until I healed my own self-worth and didn't care so much about my self-image, like obviously everyone cares about the self-image, but I stopped caring about that. I didn't feel any competition. I didn't feel envy, jealousy, things like that because I wasn't focused on egotistical things. I wasn't focused on, how that girl looks compared to me or how successful she is compared to me. I focus on my own success, my own beauty, and doing the best that I can. And I go out with friends who don't care about that as well. Like, obviously, again, to a certain extent, we care about our success and our looks, but I'm not going out with friends who are very critical of themselves, who are in competition with other women. Like, when I'm going out, let's say I'm going out to a club. I'm going out to a club with my friends to dance. I'm not going out to the club with my friends so that we can be the hottest girls and that we can pull the hottest guys and we have to look pretty and perfect and whatever, and that's that. I don't go out with girls like that. Obviously, again, we care about what we look like and we know that we look good and amazing, and that's great, but my actual main focus of the night is to go out with my friends and be able to talk to them and connect with them and dance with them. That's when I always say the club. The reason why I really don't love the club, it's different depending on who you're going with though, but in general, I just mean listening to music and going out and having a good time with your friends. That's what I care about the most, is dancing and having a good time. I don't care if another girl looks better than me. I can acknowledge it. Yeah, sure, she looks amazing, but who cares? Why am I in competition and being envious? Another thing with envy and jealousy though is it's a good indicator that you're probably just not happy with yourself, and that's no shame, no guilt, no whatever, but it's okay, well, what can I work on? And this is not to mean that you need to make yourself look like that girl. You need to question that if you actually have that thought, but it's more so, well, what am I slacking on? What do I know that I'm not doing? Because the more I'm rooted in my self-worth and my confidence and knowing that, I'm looking the best that I can, I'm taking care of myself the best that I can, I'm on a path of success with my own job and whatever somebody else is doing, it's irrelevant to me because I'm in my own lane. So find people who care less about egotistical things and stop caring about egotistical things. To a certain extent, that's my best advice. Somebody said lifting as a woman. I think it's so freaking important. I was actually listening to a podcast episode, What's the Juice, with Olivia. I don't know her last name. Organic Olivia. I'll link it in the show notes. The Doctor That Changed My Life. That was the episode. It was November 22nd, 22 that she posted that. But I mean, I was a former personal trainer and I've been in health and wellness for a long time. So I knew that it was just good to really listen to that episode and just be reminded of how important muscle is. So I would say go listen to that episode if you really want to educate yourself, because we're not going to get into it right now. But muscle is like one of the most important things that we can have for as females, even for men as well, but for females as well. It affects everything. It literally, every part of your body benefits from you having muscle on your body. So everyone is so obsessed with being skinny and doing cardio, and I think that actually you should be lifting weights as a woman. Don't be afraid to go lift weights. You can search up how to do certain movements if you're scared to do that for the first time, or you can get a personal trainer. Mind Pump as well is a really good podcast, and they have a YouTube channel as well. They're 3 guys, but they do think of things in a very holistic way, and they're very smart. And they also have exercises that they do like exercise demos on one of their YouTube pages. So you can totally go and watch if you're very like new to lifting. I've been lifting for so many years. I stopped for a while, but I can go back to the gym. I am going to the gym now and really get back into it. But I know it can be difficult when you're first starting out, but muscle is so important, especially as you age. So don't be afraid of it, and you need it. And as much as Pilates and yoga is great, and Pilates and yoga and doing hot girl walks, they're very, very helpful when it comes to healing your nervous system and your adrenals and your hormones. It's really helpful, especially if you've been that girl that's been burnt out and you've done cardio and you've cycled through diets and you've stressed yourself out. It's a good period of transition for sure to heal, but it's really, really important that you do lift weights. And it doesn't need to be strenuous and crazy and hard working. So anyways, I think that's really important. So definitely like lift weights and don't be afraid of it, and eat your protein. Someone said, talk about how the medical field is failing women and constantly overlooking us. I will definitely say there's some truth in that. The medical field, as much as they know things, they also don't know a lot of things. A lot of studies have been done on men and not women when it comes to, let's say, like when we're learning about fasting or cardio or things like that. It doesn't take in the infrared rhythm, so just know that. But the thing is, again, I'm very much so leaning into the more side of being empowered and not feeling like a victim, because I don't like that feeling, and I feel like I'm not going to live this life being a victim. And truthfully, we have the internet and we have the resources and the money, and if you don't have the money, then work and get the money to educate ourselves literally for free, or buy a book or whatever and learn it yourself. Yes, is it unfortunate? Yes, can we be mad that we had to learn this and they should have taught us that? Yeah, sure. But guess what? There's no perfect system. Everyone is flawed. Systems are flawed. We still live in a first world country. So I think that take your power back, educate yourself on what you need to about your cycle, female hormones just in general, and take your power back. And I've done that. I've done that all of my life, really. But that's just how I look at things. Like, it's not always going to be handed to me. Like the doctors, I go into the doctor's office knowing that they might not know everything. But I get it, because it's kind of like, we get taught that the doctors are supposed to know everything. But as you get older, and I think most people will attest to this, as you get older, you actually realize that the adults don't know what they're doing either. I think many people have heard that before. And you actually realize that adults don't know as much as you think they know. When you're like young, you look at the adults or just professionals as like they know every answer and they know all of it. They don't. Someone said, how to say no and be strong when you're being harassed by your landlord. 3 things. Document everything. Especially like when it comes to like, because this is a boundaries thing. Document every single thing. If you already haven't, you need to tell somebody, depending on your severity of your situation. Like you might be, you got to tell somebody. You got to be, you can't just tell me on the internet. You have to tell somebody, and report it and try your best to get yourself out of the situation. Just remove yourself if you can. I know it's not just about just removing yourself. Like it's hard to just up your life and move to a new place. But I mean, if you are in a situation that's not safe, you need to remove yourself. You're going to have to do it. And I hope the best for you, or wish the best for you. Someone said, thoughts on housewives and being a stay-at-home mom. I kind of already talked about this. Just do what you want. Do what you freaking want. I understand the concern that some people will have with those stay-at-home aesthetic wife or girlfriend trends that are happening, it's a little cringe, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. So I see why no matter what, people are gonna get hate for it. But on top of that, I do see the concern that people have, and they say, like, well, what if he leaves you, and what if you whatever? But this is what I say. I see that argument, and I think it's very important. And I think no matter what, it's not about like, oh, you should never rely on a man. It's just, you should have your own life, your own money, your own purpose, your own passions. You should have a full life. Have that for yourself, okay? But also, if you have that for yourself, doesn't mean that you have to just be this independent boss babe and never have a man. No, if you want to be a stay-at-home woman or a wife or girlfriend or whatever, do what you want, but have something for yourself. Have a life, have confidence, have self-worth, be rooted and connected to people. And again, this might look like, if you're being a stay-at-home wife, you're not really working. That's up to you. Okay, you can listen to everyone say that you shouldn't, but again, you need to do whatever you want. But just know, like, obviously there's a reaction to every action that you do, and sometimes women are not really, they're naive to who it is that they are spending their time with when it comes to being a stay-at-home girlfriend. There's definitely men, I'm sure, that are out there that you being that stay-at-home girlfriend will lead you into being the wife, and he's providing everything forever, and you're gonna be safe for the end of day. But then there's some women who are very wounded, and they want to be the stay-at-home girlfriend or the stay-at-home wife because they're lost. And then that's when they get into very scary situations with men who want the stay-at-home girlfriend, and it's such a cool aesthetic vibe to have that girl just, make my sandwiches and pack my lunches. But they're actually toxic. So that's, I think, where the concern can come from. But I think regardless of that, I think you should just do what you want. And when I mean like have your own thing going for you, maybe you're working a little part-time job, maybe you're, doing social media, maybe you're whatever. Even better if your man wants to support that. But I think at the end of the day, you just got to do what you want. And there's going to be people who are just telling you whatever they think is right. And even for me, maybe you think that people shouldn't be stay-at-home wives or whatever. For me personally, I know that there's going to be a stage in my life where I don't want to put my entirety of focus and attention and time on work. Right now, I'm in my life where basically all of my time and attention is on work because I'm single, and that's just where I'm at in my life. But I know that there's so many other things that I value, and I'm going to even value even more when I'm older, where my time is going to have to shift a little bit. And I'm okay with that. It is hard to be a stay-at-home wife and work. Like, you can't do two at the same time. So there's kind of a trade-off here, and I'm okay with that. I want that. I want to be with my family. I want to be with my children. I don't want my whole life to be revolving around me egotistically, but also business and constantly supporting other people and constantly putting out all this stuff. Amazing. Love that. And I want to do that. And I always want to be a part of society and moving things forward and helping others. But there's going to be a point in my time in my life where I want to put that energy and attention to my husband and my children. And I think that's okay. And with doing that though, that means maybe you're not going to be working as much or whatever. Somebody asked tips on keeping your hormones regulated and nutrition advice for women. I think one of the most important things out of everything, especially for women, because we've gone through so much social media pressure to be perfect and self-image and body image, is to focus on your mental health. Like, seriously, like, what is going on in your brain when it comes to you and the way that you perceive yourself and your body? Because I think a lot of us, we go into that direction of health and fitness because it's like we perceive ourselves to be bad, wrong, ugly, gross, whatever. But then also we have that part of us that might be unhealthy, right? And again, I think that your mental health is very much so connected to your physical ailments and the chronic illness that you might be going through. So I think that no matter what, address your mental health, be very aware of the environmental situation that you're in, and adjust accordingly. So take care of yourself depending on what environment that you're in. If you're in a very stressful environment, there's going to be certain things that you need to do to make sure that you're not getting burnt down, overwhelmed, going into a depression episode. Maybe that's getting out of the house more. Maybe that's going to see a therapist. Maybe that's doing guided meditations at night so you can fall asleep. Maybe that's making sure that you're not having a lot of caffeine and you're not having a lot of processed foods that are going to create more inflammation and create more stimulation in your already stimulated and unhealthy and body. Like there's going to be certain things. Like for me personally, now in this stage of my life, I don't have to be so hyper focused on curating a certain environment to help me heal because I've already done that. And I'm now in an environment that's so much more healing than I used to be in. So I don't have to really hone in on, making sure every single meal that I'm having is like super clean and super amazing, even though I don't think you should really focus on that like that anyways, even if you're in a stressful environment, because that can be stressful as well. But there's just going to be certain things that you need to maybe lean more on. Or let's say for therapy, right? You might be going through a very, very, very stressful time and you really need to hone on going to therapy like weekly, or like talking to friends or family, or getting out of the house more. For me personally, okay, yeah, therapy is good and great, and I should honestly constantly always be doing it. Keeping up with it, I should say, not constantly doing it, but I don't really need to like have all of these pillars like really structuring this environment for me, because I live in a very healthy environment and I've created that for myself based off of really honing in and being there for myself when I looked around in my environment and it wasn't safe. Another thing when it comes to nutrition, I feel like for a lot of women, because we have just so many hormones that play a role in things and like so many things, I do think that it's important to get your levels checked. If you're somebody who's like diving into all of these supplements and you're really into the nutrition world, it can go south very fast and you can spend a lot of money on things that you don't need. So I think that if you're finding that you're really struggling with your health, then it doesn't hurt to just go to a doctor and get your levels checked, or go to a naturopath or somebody who's kind of more your vibe. But honestly, some of the most important healing things are free. Making sure that you sleep, making sure that you get off your phone, making sure that you drink your water, you're eating food before you drink your coffee, you're moving your body, you're getting outside, you're breathing fresh air, you're doing guided meditations, you're talking to yourself positively, you're for the most part first of all, you're not doing fad diets, but for the most part for your diet, you're having fiber and protein and you're cooking at home. Those basic things that we just make so complicated are what's going to keep you healthy. Someone asked, let's normalize, they didn't ask this. They just said, let's normalize gyno checks, like gynecologist checks. Yeah, sure. I mean, especially if you're sexually active, I would say definitely you need to make sure that you're on that. If you're not, I don't think that you need to go so often. I don't, because I'm just not, but also, I mean, it's just because you're sexually active doesn't mean that you shouldn't go. But yeah, definitely normalize that for sure. Somebody wanted me to talk about a pussy routine, tips and tricks. And somebody also asked about how to take care of your armpits or something. Honestly, I think that even with your armpits down there, anything, it's really going to be a result of your diet and how you're taking care of yourself. Like if you're moving your body, you're drinking water, you're having the proper nutrients, you're getting outside, you have good levels of vitamin D, like all of these play a part in, what's smelling or what's not, Another thing is I try my best to stay away from heavily scented things. Listen, I still use perfume when I go out. I do use deodorant with aluminum, which is like just the normal deodorant when I do go out. But I try my best to not put so much on my body, because I do think like I've done my fair share of listening to podcasters and reading books on holistic health and stuff. And I just think that those are very big endocrine disruptors, which are just disrupting your hormones, and it's not healthy for you, which can also affect everything else, like all of these routines that we're talking about. So to kind of stay away from that on a daily basis, like when I'm just chilling at home and I'm like not doing anything, I won't put deodorant on. If I feel like I want deodorant for anything, I'll use my 0% aluminum deodorant. Also, when it comes to scented products, I try my best not to buy scented lotions anymore. put just heavily perfume, like all of that kind of stuff. I just try and stay away from it, especially like on the cooch. Like we don't, but it also is a different story though when you're dating somebody, because I know like you want to smell good and you want to be great, and like there's just sometimes that you need to do that. So I think that I'm not somebody to completely, I'm not somebody to look at things from black and white, because I've done that before a million times and I don't think that it's that helpful. I heard that using just plain water when you go pee and like rinsing off with water is better than using toilet paper and just wiping without using water. I heard that that's a big thing in Middle Eastern cultures. I've been trying to do that, but obviously it's kind of inconvenient and hard, but I hear all the time that just literally using plain water down there is actually way better than you adding any scents or any soaps like in there, because and I understand that to be true, because also the same thing with your armpits. Like actually the more that you use deodorant, the more that you will end up like sweating, and it actually even can sometimes smell worse. Totally depends on so many other things. So I'm not going to say that as an absolute, but I have been lately in the shower. This is so too much information. You know what? I see these videos on TikTok, and the comment sections of when even doctors will say like, don't use a lot of soap, or down there, just like plain water. People will be like, I would never, that's disgusting, blah, blah, blah. But what I've been doing lately is I'll take my hands and I'll cover her and I'll just like scrub around, like, whatever. And, everything smells great. And I didn't actually put any soap like in my vagina. So, which you shouldn't actually do that, but I'm really trying to like not get anything anywhere, and it's totally fine. So I definitely think that there's something to be said about using only water. Another thing that I will say is chlorophyll is shown to be able to help with like the armpits or vagina, but because it's supposed to be like a natural deodorizer, and it's the green in leaves that are extracted out. That's what chlorophyll is. But the thing is if you have a really crappy diet and you're eating McDonald's and you're eating like crap, then you drinking chlorophyll is not going to do anything. Like you might as well not waste your money on that. Another thing is I just wanted to mention though, like if there's any sort of weird smelling going on or situation where you're trying to go onto TikTok and listen to all of these girls talking about different remedies and purity and all this weird culture that's going on, I honestly think that you just need to go to the doctor. Like go to the doctor if something's actually wrong, and stop listening to people who are like, oh, these add this perfume and then this whatever, and it's going to make you smell amazing for your next D appointment. I just think that that's naive and not cute. So also another thing, what did I say? Oh, yeah, stop sleeping with your underwear. It's actually it's not, I don't want to say worse, but let that thing breathe, girl. I sleep naked. For many years I didn't, but yes, don't wear underwear if you don't need to. I find if you're really like struggling with anything down there, because again, it depends, right? Some girls can just whatever. I don't know. Everyone's different. That's just what I do. Okay, that's going to be it for this episode. I was considering splitting this up because this episode is so long, but you know what? It is what it is. You guys already know it's going to be long. So anyways, thank you so much for the questions. I love having these type of girl chats. I know I went into a lot of rants, but I would love to speak on more of these topics. So definitely let me know in the comments or DMs, whatever. Anything that you want me to talk more further about. I think definitely for the springtime on my main channel, I'm going to be talking a lot more about health and wellness. I'm not going to be like a health and wellness girly, but I just think naturally the progression of where I'm at in my life, I'm doing a lot more for my health and wellness and skincare and hair care and all of that kind of stuff, which I think we're all on that vibe too. I feel like every time I make a video, you guys are like, this is exactly where I'm at right now and I needed to hear this. And I feel like we're just like all energetically connected. So when I'm moving into a new phase in my life, I'm only assuming that majority of you guys are kind of in that same vibe. Obviously, there's going to be people who are not in the same phase, and then they're going to watch my videos later at a different time or whatever. But I think that that's not how I think. That is how I create my content. So content creation tip for anyone, go with your own flow of your life and your season. So yeah, thank you so much. I love you guys, and I will see you and talk to you in the next one. Bye.